Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, and here are 10 books you should read this fall. I just went around and picked out a bunch of my favorite books off my shelves. I've tried to go for a variety of genres because it depends on you what you want to read them for. Personally, I have been gravitating towards more mystery thrillers, crime, and fantasy this fall. However, I do have some dark academia, dark romance, dystopian, all that jazz on here. So I'm basically gonna give 10 book recommendations that I think are perfect reads for the fall/autumn season. And yeah, let's get into it. Firstly, I have Bride by Ellie Hazelwood. This is a paranormal romance and it follows a relationship between a vampire and a werewolf. So, for any of those Twilight fans out there, I know Twilight is given like the full vibes. So I thought Bride, vampires, werewolves, Halloween, that just gives the full. Personally, I enjoyed this. I do love Ali Hazelwood's other books more, but it is a great read and I definitely recommend for this season. Next we have The Naturals by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. So this is a YA mystery thriller, and it follows these teenagers who each have a different talent of being a natural at something, and it follows them solving all these FBI cases, and it's a series. This is the first book in the series, and I'm currently on the last book in the series and I've been freaking loving it, so I definitely recommend this. Even if you just read the first one, I think the first one, this book, was just freaking amazing, but the rest of the series is too, so definitely recommend. Next we have a read that is supposedly a children's book, but I have read it recently in this past year and I love this book and I love the movie adaptation of it and I just recommend it. So this is a historical fiction. It follows this boy called Willie and he is evacuated from London during World War II, and basically he gets shipped off to this little town where he learns a lot of things, and there's that found family aspect and obviously like the history element of it, like everything is happening in the background. So yeah, I really love this story. I'm not much of a historical fiction reader, but this was amazing and it's emotional in the best way, so I recommend. Then we have Book Lovers by Emily Henry. Why I think this is like a full read, I don't know. It just, when I read it, I don't know if I read it in full, I can't remember when I read it, but it just gives me those full vibes. I don't know like what season it's actually set in, I genuinely can't remember, but to me, it was just given full. So this follows a literary agent and an editor. So both characters have like bookish jobs, and it's a romance. Sorry, I should have said that at the start. It's a romance book. It also has aspects of a small town and also city life and like the contrasts between that. And yeah, I just ate it up, love this book. Next we move on to a sci-fi book. So this is Vicious by V.E. Schwab. Sci-fi to me just gives fall vibes, fall and winter, and well, this is that. So it follows Victor and Eli, these college best friends, and they're really interested in near-death experiences and supernatural events. And basically they become these extraordinaries, so they have these superpowers and I think they are immortal. I don't think they can be killed, But yeah, it follows all that journey of how they like discover that, how that happens, and the aftermath of it all. And yeah, it's given a bit of X-Men, like once you're in the story. And on the second, there is a second book to this, which on the back it does say like the X-Men. So yeah, if you like the X-Men movies or comics, definitely read this book because I think you would love it. Okay, next we have a romantasy, Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. To be honest, any book by Sarah J. Maas, I fully recommend. I love all her books. But my favourite Sarah J. Maas series is Throne of Glass. Okay, I hear you saying there is a lot of books in this series. True. However, this first one is a normal sized book. It's not huge like some of the others are. And it's a taster to this world, and to be honest, you can read it as a standalone. You don't need to read on. If you do read on, it does get complicated, but it's the world building and like all these situations and everything. Yeah, I love this series. This first book follows an assassin who is taken from prison to the king's castle to take part in this competition to become the king's champion and like work for the king basically. And yeah, it just follows the main character, this assassin, who takes part in this competition and everything that happens during this competition. I'm not gonna say much more about this because I think the less information you know, the better, because it's just such a good book. And I would say it is easy to follow. In terms of the romance side of it, I feel like this book is more fantasy. I know for like other Sarah J. Maas books and later on in this series, it can be classed as more romantasy, but I would say there isn't really much romance in this book. I would say this is more fantasy, but not like a complicated fantasy. It's one that you can pick up easily. Okay, next we have a dystopian fiction. This is The Grace Year by Kim Liggett. This book is honestly mind-blowing. So, I've read this recently and I honestly can't forget about it. It follows it's so hard to describe it without like spoiling things. But basically, there's this village. When the girls in the village reach a certain age, they're sent off into the woods to complete this thing called the Grace Year. And then they come back and then they're like clean and then they can become like married or work or whatever. And yeah, it basically follows these group of girls whose Grace Year it is. I guess it follows this one girl in particular, but you see like all the other girls whose Grace Year it is, and it's just freaking mind-blowing. At times I was like, is this fantasy? Is this romance? But it is just dystopian fiction. But it has elements of like all these other genres and I freaking loved it. So I definitely recommend. Okay, next we have a dark romance book, but I think this is not as bad as dark romance gets. So I would say it's a taster into dark romance. So this is There Are No Saints by Sophie Lark. And oh god, I don't even know how to explain this. Okay. So it's a stalker romance and it follows this rich artist and this poor girl who wants to be an artist, and there's also this murder mystery in the background and trying to work out who this person is going around killing people. So yeah, that's basically the gist of it. I don't know if I explained that well. It doesn't sound that appealing from that description, but it is dark, and I do know some people like stalker romances, and the murder mystery aspect. Yeah, personally, I wasn't like fully obsessed with it, but I wanted to put it in here because it's a dark romance that I guess I recommend. Next, we have The Atlas 6 by Oliver Blake. I think that's how you pronounce the name. So this is a dark academia book. I'm gonna be honest, I did not enjoy this one, but I know a lot of people who love this book and also the books that follow this in the series, trilogy series. Not sure how many books there are. But yeah, so it follows all these different characters who were chosen to be in this special group where they can learn more about their magic and like improve it and have access to all this knowledge. So yeah, I guess it's a bit of fantasy because it does have like aspects of magic, but I would say this is dark academia in terms of they go there to like study and it is just dark. But yeah, I guess I recommend. I don't know why I chose this book. I think it's because a lot of people say like dark academia is the fall vibes, but this is the only the only dark academia book I've read. So apologies for that, but read the reviews on Goodreads because people really love this. Lastly, my 10th and final recommendation, In My Dreams I Hold a Knife by Ashley Winstead. Okay, I was just gonna say this might be Dark Academia. Is it? I don't think so. What even is Dark Academia? To me, that just means like it's dark and like they're in like a study environment. This is dark and it's set at like a college slash university. I feel like this is more of a mystery thriller. It is dark, so I recommend. It follows six friends and they reunite 10 years after graduation, and turns out there's this unsolved murder that happened 10 years ago, around 10 years ago, back when they were still at college slash university. Basically, we get this past present timeline, and you try and figure out who this murderer is, who died, and just like, yeah, how, and you get to see how each of the characters were affected by it. Yeah, so once again, definitely a full read and I definitely recommend. Okay, the sun has fully just bailed on me. Apologies for the lighting just going horrible. But that is the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know if you've read any of these books or if you do read them, what are your thoughts? And see you next time.